What's up, my Freedom fam? I'm your favorite libertarian, and this is the 2024 Ford Ranger XLT 2.7 liter that you've probably seen in other videos of this truck series. If you haven't seen any of them yet, check out the prior ones. If you have not yet subscribed, I'd recommend doing so you can see all the future mods that we're gonna be doing to this truck. But today is a very exciting day because we are putting a leveling kit on the front of this truck so we can have a much more mean and aggressive stance and have room for bigger tires. Foreshadowing? Possibly. Before we get started though, huge thank you to today's sponsor, which is FordRangerLifts.com. They provided this kit for install and review, and they have a ton of other kits besides this for this truck. There's prior model gens of the Ranger that they have kits for, Bronco, Bronco Sport, Maverick, and I'm probably missing some along with other accessories they carry. So again, check them out if you'd like, FordRangerLifts.com, and tell them your favorite libertarian sent you. If you guys have any prayer requests, put those in the comment section below. I love praying for you guys. And if you're looking for ways to save money this holiday season, link in the description or the pinned comment for our discounts page. Now in this video, we're going to be doing a full install. We'll also give you the before and after shots and also the before and after measurements. And we'll also show you ways to save a lot of time when installing this, take a lot less parts off. Now let's head over to the workbench to show you what comes in this kit. Then we'll take it over to the Freedom Fam garage, the original HQ of your favorite libertarian, and get to installing the lift kit. All right, so let's talk about what comes in this kit. So you have the most important things, which are going to be your spacers and the nuts that come with them. So you get 6 nuts, 2 spacers. And before we move on to other stuff that comes in the kit, I just want to show you the quality, craftsmanship, all that stuff. There was one area that I saw that was of note, which I want to show to you, and that is right here. So there's a little ding right here on the side. I don't know if you can see that, but it's right there. And I don't know if this happened before it was packaged up, because the packaging was actually really good. It was all wrapped in cellophane a bunch of times, tons of bubble wrap. So I don't think this happened when it was getting to me. I think it probably happened before it was put in the box, but there's that, just so you guys are fully aware. Full disclosure, open and honest reviews over here, so I just want to let you know what kind of quality I'm getting. But otherwise, it looks pretty sturdy. It looks like it's going to hold up, and it is metal. It's not one of those plastic spacers, so that's good. These are actually moving really smooth on this threading, even though it looks like the threading is painted, so that's nice. Here's the other one over here. There is one area where it looks like maybe it was scratched up and then it was repainted with some spray paint right here, but it's not going to affect, I mean, neither of these things are going to affect, yeah, and then like a little chip off the paint right here. None of that stuff is going to affect how these work, but it's just something to note. I just want to make sure you guys are seeing the close-ups on everything that I'm showing you guys in all my videos. So there's that. So you get 2 of these. You also get a cozy to keep your drink cozy with every order, and a business card as well, and then you get the instructions along with all of that. If you guys want, you can go ahead and pause the screen and look at these instructions. Now these instructions we won't be using as much because we have a different method that will hopefully save some time and require a lot less wrenching on a lot less parts. This hat is pretty cool too. I think these are available on the website if you want to check them out or get one. Also, they have shirts as well. These weren't sent for review necessarily. They're just some swag things that were sent over along with the kit. So thank you to Robbie for that. I'll try to stop blinding you with the reflectiveness of this sticker, and we'll move on. So first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this front tire area here, the wheel well and the tire. I'm going to measure between the top of the tire and the bottom of the wheel well. Try to make sure this is actually, see, level with the camera there. So we're looking at 6.75 inches from the top of the tire to the bottom of the wheel well for the front tire. All right, now we're going to measure the back. So we're just measuring again the top of the tire to the bottom of the wheel well. And we're looking at exactly 9 inches. So if we do everything right, we should have a 9-inch gap between the top of our tire in the front and the bottom of the wheel well in the front as well. Let's see what happens. After chonking the rear tires, applying the parking brake, and securing your jack stands, remove your lug nuts using a 19mm socket. All right, we got a 15mm socket. We're going to use this for these 3 top nuts right here. And then we'll move down to the bottom to get the 2 nuts on the bottom, which is going to be an 18 millimeter, but this one's 15 for the top. Remove the factory alignment pin near the rear nut to give yourself more room to wrench. Let's see if I hold this over this. Cool, just barely. But here's another tool you can use if you have it.
That's probably a 5/8 ratchet wrench.
Yeah, this is.
You'd have to look at it. But
This isn't metric, but it's working. Giving us a lot more room too. All right, now that we've taken off the nuts for the top of the strut, those 3 nuts, we're gonna go down here and we're gonna take off these 2 nuts on the bottom. And for that, we're gonna be using an 18 millimeter socket with a breaker bar to start. Voila. All right, so now we're at the lower control arm. This big U-shaped thing here is the lower control arm. What we're gonna do is we're gonna take either a Sharpie paint pen or we're gonna take just a regular Sharpie and we're gonna mark where this is right now, because this is actually how it's factory spec aligned, and we wanna make sure we can return it to that as close to it as possible once we put all this back in. We're gonna take this out, so we wanna make sure it goes back in the same exact way. Then when you go to the dealership or wherever you're getting it aligned after you install this kit, they'll make any adjustments they need to, but this is to keep it as close as we can to factory spec alignment. All right, so now we're gonna try to break this loose with a breaker bar, and my dad's holding the other side with a adjustable crescent wrench. And just in case you guys are wondering, this is a 24 millimeter socket, but if you don't have that, the closest would be 15/16. Success. All right, now what we've done is we've supported the lower control arm so that when we take out those bolts right there and over there, everything will stay exactly where it is right now. Time for another installment of Really, Ford? If Ford would have pushed this bolt through from the opposite direction when building this truck, we would have had plenty of room to remove this bolt from the other side. Maybe you got lucky and Ford installed your bolts correctly, but if they didn't, you'll have to add the following step. All right, so what we had to do was remove the bracket on both sides for the sway bar. Sway bar just kind of hung on its own weight. 18 millimeter socket for those 2 fasteners. Now we can just by hand really easily, because again, we have this jacked up right here. We could just pull this out the rest of the way. And I think if possible, I'd like to switch this around and do it the other way. I don't think that's gonna work with our witness marks, but if it does, I'd much rather do it like this, because that would be ideal, but we'll see. All right, now what we're gonna do, now that we've removed those bolts from the lower control arm, is we're gonna lower the jack so that we can get that room to take out the strut. If you remove the wood supporting the rotor before lowering the jack, you'll get way more travel. We learned from the way we did it on this side, and the other side went much faster and easier with that extra droop. It also made it easier to get the strut back in after adding the leveling kit. All right, we got it out.
piece of cake.
We're halfway done, guys. All right, so now that we've gotten this off of the truck, we're going to take our spacer and we're going to line it up with these threads. We're going to install it, and then we're going to apply some Loctite to these threads. You can already tell there's a little bit of blue Loctite on there from the factory. So we're just gonna do that again. Ooh, that's a lot. And we're just using the factory hardware that we took off. All right, there's that first one. I don't want to crush it too much. You want me to go?
All right.
Now, we haven't torque spec this down yet, but there is a torque spec to this. Ooh.
Yeah, this stuff runs pretty.
I'm heavy-handed on this Loctite here.
That's the way it flows.
Gotta go with the flow, yo. No, I gotta get out of the flow. That's what got me here. I'm 27 years old. I got nothing to show for it. Brace yourself.
How did I do it before? All right.
Okay. One more. Okay.
All right.
Now, the best torque spec we found for this was 55 foot-pounds. However, the tightest we could get these nuts with the torque wrench was 40 foot-pounds before the shock started turning inside the spring. Unless you want to vise the actual spacer, that's probably the best you'll be able to do. To reinstall your strut, you can fit it in relatively easily this way, but in order to get that additional clearance, you'll want to put the jack underneath the lower control arm and remove the block that's supporting your rotor. I'd recommend starting one nut on top of the strut to make lining up the lower control arm holes easier. And it probably wouldn't hurt to get that sway bar out of your way by tying it to the frame with some rope.
I'm gonna let this go. And see if you can.
I mean, it's almost enough. Oh, yeah. As you can see, once we let the rotor droop, the bottom of the strut was much easier to line up. Then it's just a matter of lining up the holes for your alignment bolts for your lower control arm. Yeah! All right.
Now, that's there. Oh, neck muscle.
We did it.
Get this other side up.
For this, we put the rotor back on the wood block, jacked up the lower control arm to line up the holes vertically, and used a ratcheting strap to line up the holes horizontally, one side at a time. Then once our bolts were lined up, we removed any additional supports, made sure our witness marks were lined up as they were before, and torqued them back down to 100 foot-pounds. Okay, so now that we got that done, we're going to put some blue Loctite on these threads right here for these nuts. We're gonna tighten these down, and then we're gonna do the same thing to the bottom threads as well. Easier just, there we go. And that's just gonna make gravity bring it down the threads. And I'll do the same thing to the back one. Now, because we pulled out that pin, we don't have to worry about that pin being in the way anymore. The pin doesn't go back in, it would be in the way of the spacer. And you'll want to torque these to 45 to 55 foot-pounds with a 15mm socket. All right, now we're on the bottom of the strut. We're gonna Loctite these threads as well with some more blue Loctite 242. The torque spec is 66, so we're gonna do 66 foot-pounds. With an 18mm socket. There we go. Oh, nice, nice clicks. All right, so we're done with this side. We've got the lower control arm back in. We even torqued down to torque spec the bolts that go through these holes for the lower control arm. We didn't have to detach any of this stuff. We just had to move things out of the way and jack things up and lower them a little bit here. We did have to remove the sway bar, so that is something you're gonna have to do if you wanna be able to, one, get this bolt out because the bolt head is on this side versus that side. So we had to do that to remove that, and then it helped just having it out of the way and kind of tied up out of the way so we could work on things and move the control arm around when we're trying to get the strut back in. So that's something that I'd recommend you do. But either way, you're not going to be able to put the tire back on because you still need to have that sway bar out of the way. For the other side, once you've done both sides, then you can reconnect your sway bar and put your tires on, and then you'll be done. Terrific. All right, now for the after measurements. So if you remember before, we had a 9-inch gap between the top of the tire and the bottom of the wheel well. Let's see where we're at now. Nothing's changed there, still 9 inches. Now let's see what it looks like in the front. Let's check the front, shall we? Ow. All right, so a couple things to note before we show you the new measurement. One is that the previous measurement was 6.75 inches from the top of the tire to the bottom of the wheel well. The other thing to note is that this is after alignment. So I took it to a Ford dealership and got it professionally aligned. It is going to be a different measurement if you're measuring it right after you install the kit, especially with the method that we used. So just keep that in mind. Don't freak out if the measurement is different than you thought it was going to be. Get it aligned and then see what the measurement is, and you should be pretty happy with it. If you have the 4-cylinder version of this truck, but more on that later. Now I'm going to show you what the new measurement is. Just keep in mind this is after alignment. All right. So we are looking at 8.75 inches. Now you might be doing the math at home and saying, oh, that's only a 2-inch difference from what we had before. And there's a big reason for that. And this is going back to if you have the 4-cylinder. I don't have the 4-cylinder. I have the 2.7 liter twin turbo V6, and that extra weight is giving me less of a difference of height with a 3-inch leveling kit. Speaking with Robbie over at FordRangerLifts.com, he said, yeah, you are the very first 2.7 liter to get this kit. So that is good information to know, and he's going to be changing his marketing materials to let everybody know, kind of put an asterisk in there to say, if you have the 2.7 liter, this will give you 2 additional inches of clearance versus the 3 additional inches of clearance if you have the 4-cylinder. Now, that is good for me because if this was a true 3-inch leveling kit, I would actually be taller in the front than I would be in the back, because that would put me at 9.75 inches in the front and 9 inches in the back. So for me, it works out great. This is a perfect height for me. I just want to make sure you guys understand and know, if you have the 2.7 liter, it's going to be a 2-inch lift rather than a 3-inch difference in the front. The more you know. Now I got the specs right here of the before and after alignment, so let's just see how bad out of alignment it was after we put our witness marks and alignment bolts back in. All right, so as you can see here, the top is what it was at when we brought it in to get aligned, and it's a good thing we did, because wow, it was pretty out of whack. On the bottom you can see what it's at now. This one number right here, that will adjust as we drive it, and I'm going to take it back in just for them to check alignment to see if that worked itself out after I've driven a little bit. You definitely want to get in alignment. So what do you guys think of the new stance of the truck? I'm pretty stoked about it, as you could probably tell. Besides it just looking awesome, it also is going to give me a lot more room in the front for bigger tires. Now let's talk a little bit about what those might be. I'm going to be looking at your suggestions in the comment section, so put in the comment section what you want to see tested tire-wise on this truck. I'd like to keep the factory wheels and just get taller tires, which would be probably one, just really good for on-road driving, because it is going to be a combination of on-road and off-road driving, but also it's going to allow me to keep those factory wheels, which I really like. And I'm hoping I can get to a 33-inch tire. That would be awesome. Then it'd be like the true Fraptor that I'm going for, because I'd have the 2.7 liter twin turbo V6 and I'd have 33-inch tires, which would be the same height tire as the Raptor Ranger. So let me know in the comment section what you guys want to see tire-wise, and we'll see what we can do. We'll see what companies we can work with to make that happen. Also, let me know what other mods you want to see done to this truck. I have a lot of things that I want to do, but I want to see what you guys want to see so I can show it on the truck, let you know what works, what doesn't work, and just show you all the things available for the 2024 Ford Ranger. I do feel like after we installed the kit and after it was aligned, it drives as good, if not maybe slightly better. Might be a placebo effect, but it drives really well. And it actually feels like it's standing up straight finally, which is really nice. Now, if you do want to pick up this kit or any of the other kits they have available, FordRangerLifts.com. Also, check the link in the description or the pinned comment for our discounts page. And as always, thanks for watching, stay free, and God bless.
Up at night, yeah. Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough. What keeps you up at night, yeah. Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah.